Welcome, welcome everyone. I know we're getting started a few minutes late over here, so I need you to drop into the chat your name, where you're calling in from, and I am going to jump right into introducing our guest, my friend. I am so excited to have Cherian Koshy here. He is a leader in the social impact sector, transforming nonprofit operations and strategic development for over 25 years, holding all of the acronyms you could possibly imagine and a Series 65 license. Cherian brings unparalleled expertise to financial strategies and philanthropy. At KindSight, Cherian merges advanced technology with impactful strategy to develop solutions. He's also one of the kindest, smartest humans that I know in this space. And so I'm so excited to get to join him for this incredible topic to talk about dangerous distractions, how to avoid shiny new object syndrome while using AI. Cherian, hi.
Hi, Mallory. I know that this is supposed to be a session that's like me, but would you just hang out and talk through this? Because I know that you are an expert on this subject as well.
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
I think,
Anything you ask for, Cherian, I will do. So, yes, I would love to any excuse to hang out with you.
I think this audience would love that. And so here's the question for um, for you and for our audience. Like this this summit has been fantastic, right? Like, how are you feeling?
Mm, good. I mean, I think I'm a little overwhelmed with all of the honestly, like, love and optimism that I'm getting from the summit, like, overwhelmed in a good way. I feel like I'm learning so much. I love watching people connect. I love the community we're building here. Every year, I mean, I'm getting to learn from folks like you, so I'm just a little like, my cup overfloweth, as my grandma would say.
How about you all in the chat? Let us know how you're feeling. I will say for myself, I have been loving what I've been learning all day today through the sessions that I've been in. But I got to be honest with you, it is a little overwhelming.
Mm,
And yeah, Denise, right? Good, but overwhelmed. Where do I
mhm,
start?
mm,
And Karen, it's a lot of information. It does feel a little overwhelming.
mm,
So here's what I got to say, friends. For those of you who are here and for everyone who might watch this later, I'm a little worried for all of us in the
mm,
sector. And here's where my worry comes from. I think AI, this is not going to be popular opinion. I think AI has a lot of potential, obviously, right? Like I created a platform
mm,
in AI just like Mallory did, and I'm not a like technologist by any means,
mm,
but I worry that we will jump into technology because AI has the potential to say like, "Ooh, this is new." It triggers our
mm,
novelty bias, and we will jump into a lot of technology because they're like, "Oh, lots of things." And I'm
mm,
sure over
mm,
the last day and a half, you found things that you were like, "Ooh, I need to try this. I need to do this."
mm,
We will chase ideas,
mm,
and this will happen to a lot of us, right?
mm. Yes.
So
Yes.
here's what I got to say, folks. I think that there's a couple of silent saboteurs that we need to talk about before we end the summit. A couple of saboteurs that we need to talk about. And they come from our brains. And both Mallory and I talk a lot about brain science, and there's a few elements of the brain that we both talk about a lot. So one is dopamine.
Wait,
And
Cherian, do you wanna show your slides?
oh, that's a
And
good idea. Let's do that.
I was actually totally engaged, but then I was like, "Wait a second, I think there's a visual here that
Yeah,
other people would love to see."
there's totally a visual here. So there's a couple of brain chemicals out there that that function in our brains, and obviously this focuses on the donor brain, of course. So you know this happens in your donor's brain, but let's talk about our brains in as fundraisers inside
Mm,
of organizations. So like every new tool, this has been happening to you over the last day and a half. Every new tool, every new session, you're like, ooh, dopamine hit. Like this is new and this is interesting. But for some of you, and I've seen this in the chat, some of this kind of hits the amygdala, the threat detector, and you're like, ooh, this triggers fear and overwhelm and caution and paralysis. And certainly the prefrontal cortex, which is the planning space. And that part of our brain says, I need to sort of plan, I need some time to weigh strategy and figure out how does this fit into everything that I'm doing. So, how do we navigate all of this? And Mallory, you do a lot of work in this space. How do we deal with all of this as fundraisers?
Well, I mean, I think that the very first step is just like understanding that this is happening. So I love what you're going to walk folks through, because I think sometimes when we don't really understand that like different parts of our brain are coming online at different moments, we think that maybe we've changed our mind, and actually we haven't, but a different part of our brain is online.
Yeah. So this is the most important piece that has come out in the last week or so. You probably heard this in the news, but if you don't, these source citations are in there. If you've seen anything I've ever done, there's source citations. Here's the real worry that I have coming out of the for-profit sector from MIT, and it is that, yeah, productivity is increasing, right? There's task level benefits of AI, but the pilots that have happened in the for-profit sector indicate that it's not having a impact on the bottom line of for-profit organizations. So is it having a for-profit or is it having an impact in nonprofit organizations? And I worry that it's not. It's not having an impact that is going to measurably impact the missions of our organization. So are we actually doing things that matter, or are we just chasing some productivity gain that is vapor? And
Mm.
are we jumping from technology to technology because that's, just something that can look cool, or we see some one thing that I call, you probably heard this concept before, shiny new object syndrome. So is there a new exciting idea, some new technology that you've seen over the last, maybe the last 60 minutes, maybe the last 6 days, maybe the last 6 months or something like that? And you're like, ooh, cool, squirrel, shiny, I should do that. But it pulls us away from our goal, from our mission, from the work that matters. And the other idea, so this is internally from our work, and then what happens to our donors when we put out a lot more content, or just, anything that makes it harder for our donors to understand who we are and
Mm.
what we do, what we actually stand for. And that's the other side of the worry. So both internally and externally, these are the two silent saboteurs that I'm worried about: shiny new object syndrome and signal erosion syndrome. These are the two things that I want you to keep in mind as we talk about how do we solve this, both internally and externally. And I mentioned this in the last session earlier today, that our family went on vacation to Italy and we stopped in Pompeii. And in Pompeii, they have everything really well preserved, and so you can see where Roman carts went through the streets. And interestingly enough, the width of a Roman chariot, sorry, is 4 feet 8.5 inches long. And then when railroad tracks were built, they are also 4 feet 8.5 inches long, not for any like real reason, but because it was there. And this is how our brains work. Our existing workflows have these things called neural grooves. They're actually myelinated sheaths. So the longer you do something, the more inclined we are to do something like that. And my daughter's there for reference of how big that distance is. So how often do we take the path of least resistance in our organization? Do we do something that is just, this is the way that we've always done something, this is the way that feels that's easiest for us, right? Our teams prefer something that's familiar, even if it's inefficient.
Mm.
And what I'm worried about is that, are we going to use AI to do the things that we've always done in a faster way? We're getting to the wrong direction even faster. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I think it's definitely one of my concerns too. And I think especially because of like the scarcity mindset that is so prevalent in our sector, from resource scarcity, but also to time scarcity. Exactly to your point before, we can get so excited about the fact that we're saving time or being more efficient, but like, to what end and for
Mm,
what? And how do we get out of just that like feedback loop that makes us feel good for being efficient as opposed to better solving a real challenge?
exactly. So I come, I live in Iowa. I happen to be in Santa Barbara today, but I live in Iowa. But I'm originally from Minnesota, which is the North Star state. I don't know if anybody from Minnesota is here, or Iowa, or whatever. But what I want you to think about is defining your organization's North Star as a guardrail for your AI adoption. And
Mm.
when you define your North Star, I want you to think about filling in the blanks to this statement. We use AI to do blank so that blank improves for this donor segment. This gives our brains a goal state to evaluate these tools against. It's not just like some marketer or some technology company said, "Ooh, you can benefit from this and this will be great and you will make a difference. This is the silver bullet that will change your life and you will make so much money." Because as Floyd says all the time, and this is in the movie, I watched this on the plane yesterday, from the on Apple TV with Denzel Washington, Highest to Lowest. Highly recommend. Not all money is good money. Not all money is good money. So, what does this mean? What are some examples of this? We use AI to summarize donor notes so that meeting prep time drops 25% for our frontline fundraiser, for our major gift officer. What does that do? It improves our ability for our human fundraisers to build trust. We use AI to draft stewardship emails so that 90-day retention improves for first time online donors, not to send and ultimately do the email, but to draft stewardship emails. So here's what I want you to do. You don't have to write this in the chat, but take a moment right now and write your example right now. What does AI do for your organization? What's an example of that? Because if you are not able to articulate what is AI doing for you in the organization, that's your number one priority.
Hmm.
If you don't have a reason to use AI, let me tell you, as someone that works in a technology company, I'm going to tell you this unpopular opinion. You shouldn't use AI. If you don't have a reason to use AI, you shouldn't use it. That's it.
Mm. Mm.
So take a moment, answer the question. We use AI to do what, so that what does what for what donors in the fundraising realm. Maybe if you're not a fundraiser, if you're, a marketer, if you're an executive leader, if you're something else, think about your role. What's the answer to that? All right. Think about your mission critical key performance indicators. If you don't have key performance indicators, what are those objectives? Maybe retain donors or qualified meetings or average gift, and tie every AI pilot into one of these performance indicators and into one donor journey stage. So here's your playbook. And I'm going to let Mallory talk about this because Mallory's so good at this stuff. But here's your behaviorally informed 5-step rubric.
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't want to take up too much time with
Sure.
this, but I love using BJ's model. So Dr. BJ Fogg has this behavior model where he explains that in order for any action to take place, your donors to take an action, you to take an action, three things need to come together in a given moment. Enough motivation to take the action, the ability to take that action, and you need to be prompted to take that action. So that trigger, that's the prompt that your donors need to take a particular action. That motivation is the why to create that dopamine reward for progress. Again, not novelty. I love that. And then ability, right? And so I'm framing this up for both donors, but also for you in terms of your AI tools. You want to be thinking about, are you being prompted? Do you have the motivation? Is it really solving a problem? And do you have the ability to take that action? In that same framework, sometimes it helps people to think about it in terms of a donor behavior before they apply it to themselves. It's the exact same thing. And then I love what Cherian's saying here around like one KPI only, right? The moment we throw multiple on there, we break the entire model. It can only be around one thing at a time. And then the review and kill criteria. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but from a behavior perspective, so much of it is about iteration, testing, trying, designing again if something doesn't work. And so I would think that's totally true for like AI, for AI adoption as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about that kill criteria in a couple of examples. So you can take a screenshot of this, but we'll give you the slides as well. Here's a way to think about that experiment structure. So here's just a simple table that you can use to run a couple of experiments per quarter, not 10 per month. That's too much. So set some expectations around what's going to improve and what's going to be that start stop criteria. And how do we know when something is going awry? So be aware of a lot of choice overload on the part of your donors. If you give donors too much information, they're going to shut down. What I always say is the enemy of good fundraising is not no, it's not now. If donors who are already generous are saying, this is too much, I'm going to decide later, that's a problem. And then similarly, what's the noise factor, the noise filter? If we are getting too much, if we're doing lots more content, but we don't know what action we want people to take, or if we don't know why it's being created, we probably need to rethink that. So maybe think about doing less content, but for a particular reason. So there's a very easy couple of case studies here. We do a call prep summary for their top 50 prospects, and it actually leads to more qualified meetings. And that rolls out and two other ideas are paused. Or a team adopts a lot of different tools and they have all of this conflicting information and nothing actually comes out of it. Those are the tale of two nonprofit organizations. Which one do you really want to be? That's what we want to think about. You'll have this slide deck. We don't want to go into detail around this, but here are some examples of different roles and how you want to think about what are those metrics for your particular role. Is it, profiles delivered if you're a prospect researcher? Is it, content that actually drives engagement instead of like output volume, how much content, its success ratio? I've mentioned this before, but I spent a lot of time talking about this and actually wrote a book around it. And it's not just my musings, it's based upon 200 peer-reviewed studies. So if this is interesting to you, if this is your jam, I'd be humbled and honored if you think about taking a look at this book. It's published by Wiley. It will come out in December, but it's not donor hacks or anything like that. It's aligning with this psychology of how brains work, both on the donor side, but also on our side as fundraisers. So we want to end by talking about how do you lead change inside of your organization? A few points here. Build psychological safety inside of your organization. That means understanding that people inside of your organization may have differing feelings around AI, and all of those feelings are okay. We want to celebrate learning, not just specific outcomes. Meaning, if we set the standard around outcomes, we don't know exactly how these AI tools are going to play out. And anchor those pilots in social proof, meaning how do we think about these pieces being part of the overall outcome, or how do we think about these overall pilots driving more adoption inside of our organization, not just a particular deliverable, but how does this circulate inside of our department or inside of our nonprofit? Mallory, anything else that you want to add?
Only that I'm going and pre-ordering my book right now, which I can't believe I haven't even done yet. So if you would like to join me and we can have a little book club and compare notes, absolutely, there's so much here. And I'm so grateful for all of your leadership in this space. I'm taking notes. I'm sure everybody else is here too. So go pre-order the book.
Well, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you all being here and continuing to learn. We want to leave you with this really important caveat. You have learned a lot. There's a lot more content here on the Fundraising AI website that you will continue to learn from. And we want you to take it all in, learn as much as you can, but then go back and be very judicious about how you will deploy this inside of your organizations. Don't fall prey to shiny new object syndrome or signal erosion syndrome. Use this in service of your missions, which we are certain you will all do because you are smart and you are capable. And this is really just a reminder of being listening to yourself. And we are grateful for all that you are doing over the course of these 2 days and all that you will do over the course of your role.
Yes, Allison, I love it. Tell us if you're ordering right now. We want to know it. I want to know it. Cherian's way too modest for it, but I want to know it. And we want your feedback. So tell us. Use the QR code. Let us know your feedback on this session. Cherian, I feel like what you're talking about here is so incredibly important. We started yesterday. Thank you, Ben. Ordered. Keep it coming, y'all. We started yesterday talking about like take what you need from these 2 days, leave what you don't. A big part of the reason we've always had recorded sessions available year round is we don't want people to feel a sense of scarcity that they have to absorb everything right away. I think that sentence that you gave people is so critical. And I was even saying in the chat to somebody who was, struggling even because they aren't using an AI tool. I was like, okay, skip the first part of the sentence to start. What are
Yep.
you trying to improve, right? And then what you can see is if there is an AI tool or solution for that, or whatever tool or solution might be available for that, which may be AI, or to your point, may not be AI. So I think it's just I want people to think about the frameworks that you're providing here beyond even just AI, that really it's about problem awareness. What are those KPIs? What are the biggest challenges that y'all are facing? And then how can you use AI to help address those? So thank you so much. I also want to make sure that we give just a quick shout out to KindSight. They're offering the ultimate guide to data-led fundraising to all Fundraising AI Summit registrants. So this playbook offers an approach to fundraising that continues to build trust and human connection while tapping into modern shifts in data and technology that have forever transformed the way we work and give. And so you can download your copy. We have amazing things coming up on each of the stages right now. I'm not going to read it because I got to go to get onto the next stage. So if you're staying on the innovation stage with me, I will see you in Agentic AI and the future of fundraising. You can head on up to the schedule button at the top of your navigation bar, see all the upcoming sessions, go to the ones that feel the most relevant for you. Maybe it's time for you to go for a walk. That's okay too. You need some sunshine. You want to do a loop around the block. Please take care of yourself. All of that nervous system regulation tools, tapping into what's happening inside you, inside your brain and body, that's going to really help keep you out of that shiny object syndrome too, which is part of our flight response. So super honored that Cherian let me join him for this session. If you are staying with me and on the innovation stage, I'll see you momentarily in the next session.